Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stress Free IEP, the show where we help families build their village to raise their neurodivergent children with confidence and support. I'm your host, Frances Shefter, special education attorney, advocate, and fellow parent walking through this journey with you. Each week, we shine a light on the professionals, resources, and real world strategies that can empower you to navigate the IEP process and beyond without stress. Whether you're tuning in live on Facebook or YouTube or listening later on your favorite podcast app, we're so glad you're here. Let's dive in and meet today's amazing guest. Today's guest is Rachel Greenberg, the founder of Life Unlimited, Unleash Your Potential, LLC. With over 16 years of experience working with individuals with disabilities across school, home, and community settings, Rachel brings a wealth of knowledge and heart to her work. Through Life Unlimited, she offers personalized social, dating, and mentoring services designed to empower her clients to build confidence, independence, and meaningful connections. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you because you're definitely something out of the norm, shall we say, of what people even know is available. Let's go into a little bit of detail about what services you truly provide to the neurodiverse community.
Yes, so I provide a bunch of services, but the ones that are for the neurodiverse community, there are three of them. One of which is social skills tutoring, and it can be done in person if you are nearby me, but it is mostly virtual. We go over how to start and continue conversations, make and keep friendships, understanding boundaries, social safety, texting, making plans, and confidence, and so on, just everything in the social realm. And then I also help with dating and relationships. So figuring out what kind of relationship you want, understanding the difference between dating and a relationship, and exclusivity, understanding dating safety, effective communication, and dealing with rejection and dealing with ghosting. And then for those who are nearby me, I do something called Wing Women Service, where I take my clients out to activities to facilitate social interaction. So I have a client, and we are, tonight going to a meet and greet at a restaurant where there's going to be a bunch of people there. So, I'm going to be kind of his buddy that's going to be there with him to help, guide him a little bit in social interactions with the people that are there.
That is so awesome. And it's so funny that you say the neurodiverse population, because in reality, I think everybody needs a lot of that,
I would agree. And then one other service I offer is not necessarily for the neurodiverse population, but I do teen and tween mentoring.
Okay, cool.
Where basically figuring out what your goals are, how you want to show up, how to deal with bullying, the golden rule of kindness, and having that person other than mom and dad to talk to.
Which is always nice. So what age groups do you focus on?
Oh, goodness. For social skills, it's usually about 12 and up. For dating, it's usually 18 and up. The tweens and teens, it's usually like 11 to 18. And then it can be pretty much any age for the wing woman, but it's usually like 18 and up.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, because a lot of the meetup activities are like in bars and stuff like that. So I don't want to be taking some youngsters to some places that might not be a good fit for them.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm just remembering back to way back when, before I was married, the way back when. No, that I had a friend that actually was in a relationship, but she would come with me to happy hours just so I wouldn't have to go alone,
Yeah.
So just kind of like as that extra support. And I can imagine that just having you there is probably, calming for your clients.
I think, I think so, because I know for myself that when I have my support system with me, when I'm out, that I feel more calm because I have, my own stuff with crowds. So I can imagine that having someone that you know is a safe person who is going to guide you um, through things that might make you uncomfortable, like talking to people, is definitely a plus.
And I'm assuming you do it like introduce as a friend, in
Yes.
that sense. Kind of, they don't need to know the details. And what's your story? What inspired this?
Well, I'd like to say some of it's genetic because my mom did the same thing when she was a teenager. But I've always been drawn to being with people with disabilities because of their spirit and the light. And, you know, this might be seen as stereotypical, but when I'm around my neurotypical peers, we're hearing all of the negative stuff that's going on. And then I'm with the people that I work with, and it's just so much happiness and positivity. So I was in middle school and I was teased, and they would keep us in the cafeteria until classes started. And one day I wandered off and I found the special ed classroom. And ever since then, every morning that's where I was. And then I would do internships and camp counselor for people with disabilities and ABA therapy. And then I got my master's in special ed. And it's been a lifelong love where, it sounds so cheesy where so many people are like, you do so much. It must, like, it's so nice of you. And it's like, no, I'm getting way more out of it.
Right.
Way more. Like it's not even a question. The people that I've worked with throughout the years have shaped my identity, and I can't thank them enough.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say this. I'm remembering back like in my days with teaching and stuff like that. And like how do you handle it? Like because I taught, I mean, back then it was called profound mentally handicapped, but I taught the kids that had very low IQs. Um, I hate saying that they had low IQs, that our society couldn't evaluate their IQ to see where it is.
Yeah.
Because, most of my kids were nonverbal, but I'll tell you what, they communicated, and they communicated well, and they knew what they wanted, and they knew what they liked. And, like I had one that used to change the CDs all the time, and he knew it by the color, and he put the wrong color in one time and freaked out.
Yeah.
Um, and I had one of my other girls that was, she was nonverbal, but I was teaching her sign language.
Yeah.
And people like didn't even think she could learn that. Like they didn't even know.
They think outside the box.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, all of us have our own special skills and our own um, bright light inside us. And it's helping to find that and bring it out. Um, and I know like self-confidence, like going out in public and meeting people, I mean, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for neurotypical people, right?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
so. Do you like do events, or do you find the events, or do your clients usually find events?
I usually find the events through meetups. In the future, I'd like to create events, but I'm not quite there yet.
Got it. And so do you take like more than one client at a time sometimes, or is it usually one-on-one?
Right now, it's one-on-one.
It's one-on-one, right? Which makes sense. Um, yeah. So like what, I'm trying to think like for the younger population. So that's like the wing woman stuff for the younger population. How do you work in social interactions with them?
It's all through instruction, discussion, role-playing games, focusing mainly on conversing, how to extend conversations, how to stay on topic, how to use eye contact. And I also want to, include the fact that for those who are uncomfortable with eye contact, I teach them strategies to show that they're paying attention without having to use eye contact. And by using different types of games every time, but basically going over the same concept, we're able to hone those skills. So I just got a text, over the weekend saying that her daughter's school wanted to mention that her social interactions have improved because we're going through it. We're going through the back and forth. And I explained to my clients, I'm like, this is the number one thing you need to remember, that a conversation is kind of like playing beach ball. So, I have my ball and I say, "Hi, my name is Rachel. I'm going to throw it to you." And what's your name? Throw it to you. You catch it. You say, "My name is Michael. It's nice to meet you." You throw it to me. I say, "It's nice to meet you too." So that that conversations are reciprocal, that we need to focus on asking questions to not only show that we're interested in getting to know the person, but so that the conversation doesn't go stale, which I use this term a lot in my sessions, where I'll say, "Have you ever had stale bread?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, I have." And I'll say, "How is it?" And they'll say, "Not good." And I'm like, "Can you save it?" And they say, "No." And I say, that's kind of like with a conversation. When a conversation gets stale and you're kind of standing there and you're looking at each other and it gets really awkward, there's not really a way to say it. Then I introduce what I call the small talk topics of of things that are safe to talk about with new people. So, just many different strategies for them to use and practicing with me so they feel safe in that environment and not with other people.
That's awesome. Yeah, practicing, I'm sure. And I'm sure you have your little bit of a list of don't talk about these, the
Yes,
typicals. Don't
yes.
talk politics, like unless you're sure.
Yeah, and
Or,
I have to be very specific. For example, I'll say, "Here are the things we don't want to talk about," and I'll say religion. But then I'll follow up with that, and I'll say, "Let me ask you this. So religion is probably something we don't want to talk about. But what if you went to church on Sunday? Is it okay to mention you went to church?" And they'll say, "Yeah." And I'll say, "Yeah, absolutely. That's something you did. But we don't want to just talk about our religion to talk about our religion. If it's so if you went to a political rally and someone said, "What did you do over the weekend?" You don't have to, omit the fact that you went to the political rally, but we just don't want to express our political beliefs in the conversation.
right. Unless, I mean, like at church, obviously you can talk about religion when you're at a church event, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
You know?
exactly, exactly.
And like, I just think about all of the things of language and, especially I have an 11-year-old now and, my whole family curses and like it's no, but it's like learn, that she's cursing at school and I'm like, okay, we can't curse at school. I'm like, she's like, but you curse. I'm like, I curse at home. I would never curse in a courtroom or at a school meeting or with a client. Well, every now and then with clients, but that's, in just my client and I, like
Yeah,
knowing
time
that
and
this
place.
is right. This is the language you use and the tone you use in this type of environment. Where in, like as a social environment versus a business environment versus like a true hanging with your friends that you've known forever
Yeah,
environment.
absolutely.
Um, yeah. So, like, where do you find? I'm just thinking along the lines of like for people that are like, oh wait, there are events out there for people like me, like in meetups. Are there certain like search terms you use, or do you just do general?
Usually, there's something called neurodiverse district where they meet up. I will say this is usually for people who are on the, I hate saying the high functioning end, but it is for that. And I created something, but haven't had the time or bandwidth lately to continue it, called Let's Get Together Activities for Adults with IDD. Um, but I'd like to continue doing that. It's just about figuring out when I have the time to do it. But yes, there are, looking up just like neurodiverse or social activities, and it's just, the social activities don't have to be just for people with disabilities, because sometimes it's good to get out of your comfort zone and talk to people that doesn't have a disability. Everyone has their own stuff.
Right. And fits. I don't know. I'm sure you've heard of, or maybe not, Slush and Crush.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. I met him, and I'm blanking on his name, but I
Keith
met him.
Lester.
Huh?
Keith Lester.
Yes, and I met him, I wanna say, I mean, years ago, like when I first started my private practice, and I think it was at an Autism Speaks event. And I just like have always loved his events. and send people, the older kids. And I keep waiting until my kid's old enough to start going,
They're fabulous. They are
That's what I've
fabulous.
heard. Yeah. And I'm so glad to see that they're still around and still happening.
There needs to be more stuff like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there does. And I know, like, although I think what we posted, I had some interns from MCPS, their Rise Summer program. So I had 2 high school kids with me learning about law firms and stuff. And they did a post series on events for people with disabilities, like the sensory events, like B&O and stuff. I'm thinking I should probably do one for the older kids as well, because it was another one, like game. I don't remember what it was, but it was again for older kids that I saw, that was just like a place for them to go hang out and play games and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know, I mean, and as a mom of neurodiverse kids, like we talk about it all the time, like we need these events too,
Yeah.
because going places when our children dysregulate, it's nice to have another mom there that just gets it, and you don't have to say anything, you know. I had my daughter dysregulated when we were out in Utah, and like so many people were staring, and this one mama came up to me. She's like, "I got you."
Yeah.
Thank you. It was just that.
Thrive.
Yes, it was just that she knew, she got it. Like, no judgment. You're good, mom.
That's excellent.
Yeah, which I'm sure is for our. I hate calling them kids too, but the young 20s, neurodiverse, like they need that support too, that they can do it and it's okay. Like I think about like kids saying, but I'm different. We're all different.
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
We all think differently. We all, most people don't do well in crowds. I have my own issues, and my kids know, like when we are someplace and it starts getting too crowded, I'm out. Like I can't do it.
Same here.
And that was even before COVID. COVID made it even worse. But but even before, it was like when it got too overwhelming, too crowded, I was like, we might be at an event and there's just too many people in line waiting for food and stuff. And I can't handle it. And I'm like, we're leaving, or Seth, go take them to get food. I'm going to go for a walk and then I'll come back and get, or something like that.
Yeah, we all have our stuff.
Yeah. And it's helping them. I hate saying that, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so hard because it's not them. Like we're all a community together.
Yeah.
Everybody belongs. Everybody has a right to be there. Everybody can be. Everybody gets nervous, and that's okay.
It's not just for the neurodiverse population. We all have our tics. We all have, the things that make us happy. We all have the things that make us need to like get out of there. And I think a lot of the public needs to understand that that's the case. It's not just people who have disabilities.
Right. And knowing it's okay, it's okay to get up and walk out if you need to, and take
a break. And that's one of the things I actually teach a lot of my clients is how to express that you need a break, or what to do when your social battery goes low. And I explain to them the whole, like, okay, do you have an iPhone? Sure. So when you're at 100%, you can converse, you can socialize, you're feeling great, but then it depletes. And you need to know your body enough to know when it's time to get going, because you don't want to be stuck in a place and potentially melt down. Like anyone could do that. So being able to know, okay, I'm getting into like the red of my social battery. I think it's time to go.
Yeah. And that's like, what are, and then that's it's learning yourself. And so you're helping them identify how they're feeling and where they are.
Exactly.
And I'm assuming it's not it's obviously not a one and done type thing, but it's also not for the rest of your life. You need to have Rachel with you at every single event.
Exactly. Right? The whole goal is independence.
Yeah. And is to teach them the independence. And I'm assuming, like, do the parents reach out to you? Do the individuals themselves, or is it kind of a mix?
I'd say it's mostly the parents, sometimes individuals, but mostly parents.
Yeah, knowing that there's the need there, um, which is so great because there is. And I know, we talk about it a lot on the show, transition time and what happens. Like
Yeah.
throughout elementary school and middle school and high school, you have this community of support because you have the IEP, you have your special ed team, whatever it is, or your 504 plan, and there's this whole community. And then now the IEP is supposed to prepare your child for adulthood, but let's be real, nobody's ever prepared for adulthood, right? Like, what 18-year-old is prepared for adulthood? And so it's, like, now what? Now what do we do? Like, how do we go out and socialize? How do we not become a hermit and, sit home and eat popcorn and watch movies by yourself all night long?
I think anyone could ask that. Yeah.
And let's get out there. And I like the idea that you're planning events. Maybe we'll talk and we'll get some things going,
I
for
love
maybe
that.
your kids. Yeah. Because it's always, I shouldn't say always, like I see a lot of events, but it tends to be for more nonverbal kids, or those with intellectual disability.
I'd like to see something where it's just like a mix, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were at an event. So we were at a event, an autism ambassadors event, and it was so funny because I kept seeing this one kid go down the slide, and then a couple kids would go, and then he'd come again, and then a couple kids would go, and I was like, "Where are my kids?" And I said, "Why did it take so long?" She's like, "Well, he kept wanting to go, and we could tell he couldn't wait in line, so we just all let him go in front of us." And it was just so cute that,
I
like,
love that.
like they saw that, and that was his need, and that's how we needed to meet his need,
Yeah.
and that was okay. Um, this was the first time we went to Dollywood over the summer, and this is the
Oh,
first time I ever
wow.
used. It was fun. It was the first time I ever used the little pass thing.
Yeah.
When we were at Disney, I didn't even like it. Didn't never even dawned on me. We just cut the trip short. Like once we hit overload, that was it. We went home.
Yeah.
But so with having the pass, the kids could ride more often and not have to wait in the lines. And they still had to wait some, but like not in the crazy lines and with everything else. Um, and it was nice. It was nice to have that extra breathing room,
Yeah.
because that's the thing that I do. And I'm sure we go through this all the time of like, well, she's not that disabled, or that type of stuff, but like she is, and she needs it too. And what I always say is, like, us using it isn't taking away from somebody else.
No,
It's not like there's only 10, so us using it is preventing somebody else. We all have the same access.
and you're
And
using it appropriately.
right.
It's the fact of
Exactly.
the matter is you're using it appropriately.
Right.
So
And we waited, like, because there were some that wanted to do ride after ride after ride, and so, like, we waited a little bit. Like, let's look, there's a really long of the let's let them go a little bit, and she's fine with that. It's just we're in a separate space, not in the big crowds with everybody around, and the
yeah,
noise and the overstim and the zigzag lines and everything.
having some separation.
Yeah, exactly. So do you only take them to events, or do you do like other, like, I'm just thinking, like, if they want to go to Six Flags, do things like that, or no?
I do,
Or
yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
you
like
do?
I took for the wing woman, not the social skills tutoring, but for the wing woman, I took a client to a reggae party the other day. I took him to the casino one time,
Nice.
doing adult friendly activities because we all know that so many times these folks are taken to the same place over and over and over again, and it can become monotonous. And they deserve to have, you know, as wild and crazy experiences as as possible. So yeah, I we do the social events, and then sometimes I'll hear, what like that they want to do something, and I'll run it by, whoever is in charge of paying for it, because usually the requests cost more money than just the regular events, and the power who it may be, and if approved. So like right now, one of my clients wants to go to a concert, so we're researching concerts in the area, that I'm going to propose to the person who pays for the services.
Yeah, that's all. And I'm sure it's great for them also, because the parents get a break, if they're the full-time caretaker and stuff. And it's also like I I don't care who you are, how old you are, what your mental level is, you don't always want to be around your parents,
No, absolutely not.
at all.
Or
There's
just alone at home.
right, exactly. Like I just think about it, I'm like, oh yay, I'm going to a concert with my mom,
Yeah.
sometimes there's that age, there's that hey, my mom's cool enough to come do this.
Yeah.
Um, but then there's that age of like, I don't want to see like I need my mommy with me or my daddy with me or my caretaker with me or whoever that may be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's nice to have you as a friend to come to.
Yeah, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, oh my God, that was just like such an awesome job to get paid to like go hang out with people,
Yeah, but I really try to facilitate as much social interaction. And what my favorite thing to do is to do the social skills tutoring virtual sessions one on one, and then also do the wing woman sessions, so we can transfer the skills learned in the sessions to real life situations.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. You probably do like a couple sessions before going to,
And
you
also
know,
prepare for it, and role play it. Like, okay, so how can you tell if someone's available to talk? How can you tell if someone is not interested in talking? How do you introduce yourself? How can you tell if someone wants to keep talking? How do you end a conversation appropriately? We go over everything.
yeah, that's awesome. Because and I'm sure again, like learning this skill, we like all of us flounder at it. We know that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and it's just that extra layer of confidence. Because I know a lot of times, unfortunately, based on what happens in schools or other things, other environments, kids start losing their confidence. And like, well, they're going to think I'm weird. They're going to not want to talk to me because I stutter or I'm a little weird or a little quirky or I don't know how to talk about this. Um, and so you come in and help build that confidence, like you said.
Absolutely. Lots of mantras. Lots of mantras.
Yeah. Yeah. So for our listeners, like if somebody's like, she sounds phenomenal. I've been looking for a Rachel. How do they get in touch with you?
So you can go to my website, which is www.lifeunlimitedllc.com, or email me at lifeunlimited728@gmail.com, or call or text me at 301-641-6293.
Awesome. And all of those will be when we do the full, like we're live now, but when we do the full post, they'll all be in the show notes for people to be able
Wonderful.
to contact you. But thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on, sharing your wisdom, and giving our audience like something else that they can think about doing with their kids.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of Stress Free IEP. We hope today's conversation gave you new tools, insights, or just a little more peace of mind as you support your neurodivergent child or young adult. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone in your village.